You know what? First year was great fun. Gordie and I, my first year with WHA was great fun because remember I said earlier I played 52 games. We'd sit at the end of the bench. Gordie Howe and I would sit at the end of the bench. Get this, and he used to call us filler 9 and filler 11. I was number 11. Obviously, he was number 9, and he used to crack me up. He was such a character. And he treated me like an equal. As a matter of fact, I was fortunate. Him and Colleen used to have me over to their house often for dinner. None of the kids were home anymore. Murray was gone. Kathy was gone. Mark and Marty were married. And they'd invite me for dinner and treat me like, come on, we'll go watch TV in the family room. And like I was, one of their kids. Just made me feel so special. And the second year was obviously now the merger to the NHL, and it was pretty emotional for a lot of guys who had removed themselves from the NHL. Now they did it for economic reasons in a lot of cases, but for some guys this was they couldn't crack the NHL lineup at the time, went to the WHA, started a career, and now they're going back in. So for some of the guys it was pretty emotional. For me, it was just a natural progression. WHA is now the NHL. I just want to play. But that first year we went, I was blessed to play. I played on a line. You may know the centerman, Dave Keon, and the right winger was Gordie Howe, and I played left wing. And I was tired carrying those guys all year, let me tell you. I'll tell you, everywhere we went, they were front and center. We had a lot of other veterans, but can you imagine Dave Keon and Dave Keon and Gordie Howe? We show up in Montreal. And the place goes crazy, even though there's a huge rivalry. I'm there when Dave Keon makes his triumphant return back to the Maple Leaf Gardens after being unceremoniously sent out of there by Harold Ballard, and he scores. I play in that game. And I go back to Detroit, and I play in the game that Gordie makes his triumphant return. And the best part, the starting lineup that night was Gordie at center with Mark Howe and Marty Howe. And that, if there was ever a louder yelling and screaming, God knows I've never heard it. That place went crazy. As a matter of fact, when the game ended, Gordie, who never, ever said no to an autograph. I mean, he knew exactly who, quote unquote, paid salaries, the fans, because he treated every one of them with such high regard. He started signing autographs in his gear still. He was still in his gear. And they were lining up, coming down. I'll never forget coming down to the bench, and he just kept signing. We had gone in the room. We had changed. We had showered. We had packed our bags. We were leaving, and Gordie was still signing autographs. And finally, management said, Gord, we got to go. Like, we got to go. And he was upset because he had a tub of other people waiting, and he had to bow out. And he did that all the time. He taught you as a pro how to treat fans, who pays, who's in theory pay the tickets. I think that may be missing a little bit today, but in those days they made a point. I mean, I'll tell you another one. You want to know another Gordie Howe story I'll never forget? If you've ever received a Gordie Howe autograph, you can read it, Gordon Howe. You know exactly who that is. And in our young ways, we would start scribbling our name because, holy macaroni, there's all these autographs. But you forget that people are going to have that autograph maybe the rest of their lives. And I remember signing an autograph early on, very early, WHA. Very honored to be asked to sign. Still am. I feel if you've ever had to ask for an autograph, you know how difficult it is. And I can remember getting Neil Young's autograph and shaking in my pants. He watched me sign my name. And he looked at me after and he said, they'll never know you signed that. I said, what do you mean? They can't read it. He said, if they're asking for your autograph, be courteous enough to sign your name so they know who it is. I never forgot that. And when I signed today, for the most part, it's Jordy Douglas. But that was Gordie Howe. You sign it, make sure they can read it. I thought, isn't that something? Little things, just little things. Traveled the whole year with Gord and played with him, was on the ice with him, celebrated goals with him. And I got to tell you, I look back, he was my teammate. Never thought much of it. But I think as I get older, I'm pretty fortunate to say, yeah, I was able to play with him. Gordie Howe, as far as I'm concerned, and I'll take it to my grave, is the greatest player that ever played. And why? Well, not only could he play offensively gifted, but he could play in the gutters with you. How do you want to play the game? I'll play it any way you want to play it, and I won't back down. And he never backed down. He took on Chris Nyland, first year in NHL. And Nyland was running around trying to make a name for himself in Montreal. That was a big rivalry, Hartford-Montreal. And Nyland come flying along the blue line, and Gordie come sailing the other way and stuck his elbow up. Sent him sailing, sent him flying. Whistle went, Gordie went straight to the penalty box. There's a little delay. And ref goes over, talks to Gordie. He starts laughing, jumps on the ice. It was an offside call. Gordie took no prisoners. It didn't matter. He was 51 at the time. He did it to you in practice. I mean, if you weren't awake, you weren't paying attention, you got an elbow in the chops, and he'd be laughing, giggling like a high school kid. He loved the game. But he played it as it meant to be played, which is not dirty, just tough. That was his attitude. Was there's one puck on the ice and it's mine, and I'll do what I have to do to get it. And there's a lot of stories I've over the years that he that place him at a level far beyond everybody else when it comes to legendary toughness. And having been on the ice with him, watching him play, practice, I wouldn't deny one of those stories for not being truthful. I think any of those things are possible.